Hey, welcome to Work Our Way. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Allie.
And this is a podcast about our travels through Australia in our van, through comedy and through our relationship.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, welcome. If you guys are just joining us, happy to see you. You're listening to us.
Yeah, we're not listening to you. We have no idea what you sound like. But happy to hear you are hearing us.
Yes, for sure. So, if you're just joining us, it's probably because you heard us on our buddy Bryn Edwards' podcast, W.A. Real.
Yes.
So we were just guests on that podcast, and that's a podcast that features, I guess, Western Australia. That's the W.A. part, and the real part is how we keep it. So Bryn was actually he was a great host of the podcast and host of us. He brought us over to his apartment, his studio.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we had about an hour and a half session. You guys can hear the whole thing, which is pretty cool. I was surprised at how good of an interviewer he was.
He was great. Honestly, the second we walked in, I saw on a piece of paper, he just had a bubble with our names in it and like a million lines coming off of it with questions and words. I was like, okay, this guy is legit.
Yeah, it was
he
a
knows
classic
what he's
mind
doing.
map.
Yeah.
It was really good. What were some of the questions he asked?
Oh my gosh. Well, he got into it about our military experience. There's quite a bit of that in there. Not only what we did, but our reasons for leaving, the transition period between military and civilian life and how that's affected us. He was really interested in that, which honestly I think a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not that we have any plans to this episode, but we might get around to it. Who knows? We'll see if it comes up organically.
We'll maybe do it. But yeah, it's interesting. The whole reason that he chose us, and he kind of mentioned this in the beginning, I don't know if you remember, but he said, I didn't just pick any backpacker. I could just go to Fremantle and just grab some 18-year-old who's living out of a van, off of his parents' trust fund, and just doing whatever. He was really interested in what we're doing because we have kind of already lived a life.
Yeah.
Kind of within the military and within the various jobs that we've held, we've already given life a fair go. So this is almost just like another.
This sounds like a suicide note.
I was gonna say we're not leaving you guys. We're sticking around, but it's just a completely different aspect of our lives that we have almost no experience in terms of living full time in a country on our own, not affiliated with the military, with a van. It's just all brand new, and that part he was really interested to hear more about.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on a couple cool subjects there.
Yeah.
At least me, and I know you just said it, so I'll speak for you too right now. I got to do something that I've kind of always dreamed to do as a kid, which is be a army man running around pew-pewing at things.
Yeah.
And once you check that off the list, it's just like, where do you go from there? And, if you guys are just joining us, we tried the corporate thing. I went into pharmaceutical sales, and then I went into contract. They sucked. Yeah. Those jobs sucked, and I needed an out. And you guys can hear a little bit more detail about that in episode 5, Raw Than Oysters, if you guys want.
Yeah, if you want to see me cry on YouTube.
yeah, if you want to see us both cry.
So it's just been a crazy journey, and it was just so nice to be in a space where we could openly talk about that. I think we also got into why we chose Australia, just our adventures here so far. We've really kind of hit on everything we've already hit on in the podcast. So if you want like a quick summary, I think that's a good episode
down and dirty,
to check out.
So if you guys are coming to us from WA Real, you kind of have the Cliff Notes versions of our first bunch of episodes.
Yeah, just minus all the great jokes.
He did want to host it in the van, which I was really happy we didn't do because it was hot.
Oh, yeah.
And we pulled in, and he, looked in the van, and I was like, dude, please.
We were like, if you want to do this, you can, as we're shaking our heads at the same time.
I guess we could make it work, and I'm just like, no, body language is giving off the vibe.
He caught on, though.
Yeah, he did. He invited us in, gave us some water.
Yes. So that was just really great. That was a fun time.
Yeah. So what did we do this week? So I did a lot of comedy this week.
Yeah, but before we get into that, we have to talk about this because this was literally there's life before we tried to stuff our van in a parking garage, and there's life after. Like, this was such a pivotal moment in our lives and our relationship.
You guys know, those things, like, right when you enter a parking garage and it says, if your vehicle is above, like, this set of feet and inches, like, do not come in here, and there's, like, a bar hanging from a chain. Well, you really need to trust those.
You need to pay attention. I've never had to give a shit because my last car was a Miata.
Yeah, you can pretty much...
Just a toy car.
That's just a skateboard with a steering wheel.
Basically, so I never cared. I never read those signs.
Yeah. So we tapped the top, and it was the thing about this parking garage that really sucked is it was single lane entry down a hill, and like as soon as you go down that hill, you're committed, and that's where that bar is at the bottom of that like decline into the parking garage.
Yeah.
So there was no way back out as soon as you get down to the bottom of that decline. So we're at the bottom of the decline, and we hear a conk.
Yep.
And I was like, oh no.
I was like, we have solar panels up there.
Yep.
But I was like, you know what? Too late to turn back now. Let's just commit.
We couldn't turn. You couldn't turn around. We couldn't get back up the hill. Reverse wouldn't have worked. And this thing can barely go up hills forward. Yeah. So we couldn't get. We weren't turning around, like throwing it in reverse and getting out of there. So we had to go in. We had to commit. And we had to get it into one of the first empty parking spots we saw, and K turned out. And if you looked at the ceiling, there was just a circular line in the exact shape of one of our biggest our television antenna for the van that was just scraping across the concrete roof of the parking garage.
Oh my God! Every light bulb, every stupid pipe that dropped down, we tried to get under it, and we could hear the noise as we were just going slowly. It was like nails on a chalkboard.
I honestly thought we were going to have to deflate the tires if we wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
I thought, like, oh boy, we're going to have to siphon some air out of the tires so we can give ourselves, 2 millimeters of clearance and get the fuck out of here. We ended up just turning around, going right back out, clonking that pipe again, that overhang thing that said don't go in here, and stopping traffic because it was the one lane down.
Yeah, I had to run ahead and force traffic to stop, and it was all these old ladies.
At that point, absolutely fuck.
I didn't have time to explain what had happened. I just had to stand there like an asshole.
What had happened was apparent to anybody who saw our big fucking orange van coming out of the bottom of the bowels of that parking garage.
I was preparing to live there, was really the deal.
Yeah,
I was like,
3-hour parking. Yeah, right. We live here now.
Yeah. This is our spot, and we're not leaving until next year.
Yep.
But that was so stressful. Pat came in with a totally dry shirt, and he left 5 minutes later with it soaked, dripping.
We were down there for mere minutes, and I was soaked. I was so stressed. Pouring sweat. I was like, oh my God, are we going to ruin our house van?
Yeah, the solar panels, the thing we need to survive.
Yeah.
That was fucking...
It was absolutely hilarious.
Never again.
Nice. So we're recording this from a parking lot in a park.
Yeah.
And should be pretty interesting because there's a guy walking right to us right now.
There's a lot going on in this park. So if we seem a little distracted, if it looks like we're watching TV and also recording the podcast, we kind of are.
Yeah, well, we're not watching TV, we're kind of not.
TV, but it might as well be TV, everything that's going on around us.
Yeah. As long as nobody approaches us and tells us to get fucked, I think we're fine.
Oh, yeah. No, we are good.
All right, what was I saying before you cut me off?
I'm so sorry. I felt like everyone needed to hear that story.
No, it's very fair. Let's get that out of the way. I already had a flash sweat while I've been sitting here reliving that.
Well, you've had a really busy week of comedy.
Oh, yeah. That's what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Busy comparatively to how it's been.
Yeah.
But Perth, I got on a bunch of shows. I had 3 in a row, which was after 3 weeks of not doing any comedy, which was, I'll tell you that, I thought I was going to be rusty, and I was right. But I went up with all new material, which I was kind of excited about.
Yeah.
In that time where I wasn't going up, I was still writing. So I had a bunch of new material, And the first night was at Shapiro's at Lazy Susan's Comedy Den. Great room, packed.
Yeah.
It was a great night of comedy. The host, Emma Zamet, fucking crushed.
Yeah.
She was hilarious every single time she went out on stage. The first act, fucking bomb.
Yeah, hard.
Not a laugh, you could hear people sniffing in the crowd.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
awkward. And then the second dude who went up was a guy in a Santa Claus costume. Now, guys,
Yeah.
it's like January fucking 8th over here. I don't know what that if the rental is due next week and he's still just trying to get his money's worth.
This is late
But
to the
it was
party.
also the only laughs he got was from how absolutely crazy he probably was.
Insane.
Yeah, he
the
was-
stuff he was saying.
Yep, he was bragging to me in the green room about not having a single swear word in his entire act, but his entire act had to do with like physically and sexually abusing his elves.
Yeah,
So,
he didn't have a single swear word, but he also didn't have a single joke.
Yeah, I know sodomy isn't technically a swear, but boy, it's hard to hear about. You know, still wouldn't consider it
Rough.
PC or clean comedy by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So, old Saint Nick, you guys see him around, tell him
Tone
boo.
it down.
Yeah, tell him boo.
Yeah,
Tell him he's on the naughty list.
seriously.
He's at least on the bad at comedy list.
Oh, definitely.
But shit started to pick up after that. Yeah, I can't really remember too many. That's the problem with comedy is sometimes you don't remember the good, but the bad really, really sticks out. So that's kind of fun. I went up, again, I had all new material, so it was a little clunky. It wasn't smooth, but I mean, the laughs were there, the laughs were consistent. I was generally happy about how the material went. I wasn't necessarily happy with how I did. You know what I mean?
How was going up with brand new stuff? I don't see that very often. I mean, because this was basically a showcase for you.
Yeah, again, the way they do open mics is they're not open mics. You have to be booked. Everybody gets paid but the performers, from what I can tell.
Which is weird.
Yeah, that is weird. The club's making money. I think the host is making money. The audience gets charged money. And the performers get nothing. I think that's why they call it an open mic, is because they don't intend to pay any of the comics.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So what was your question?
The new material.
Yeah, what about it?
How was doing that in front of a brand new crowd in a brand new city for the first time ever at essentially a showcase?
I mean, that's fine. You kind of lose the... I don't know, so the nerves... I just get regular public speaking nerves, but it's not like new material centric. You know, I do wonder how it's going to go, but that's about as nervous. It's like a wonderment more than it is like anxiety or anything like that. So it's like, I go through this weird phase where every once in a while I'll just hate everything I've ever said on stage, and I find all of my material sucks, and then I'll just go through like a huge phase of rewriting everything I did and find out if that works. So I'm usually like excited to try new stuff.
Nice.
You know, it's like going to the gym with a new workout routine or something. It's like getting a new toy.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you have new stuff. It's you want to give it a go.
Yeah.
So it's there's no anxiety attached to new material usually. It's really just getting on stage. Is it going to be fluid? Is it going to be smooth? Are they going to know what I'm saying? Like, am I going to perform it well? And I think the material was good. I think I performed it. I give myself a 5 out of 10 in how I actually was on stage compared to like how I know I could be. Like if I ran that material every night for 3 months, it would be tight.
Yeah.
It'd be good. I'd be good at doing it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So it doesn't have that polish. That polish that is just like, I can flow in and out of this material. I know it like the back of my hand, and I can react to everything that's happening in the room simultaneously. That flow. I didn't have it. I was just clunky. And I felt that internally. So I like doing new material.
Yeah.
But I need to do more stand-up more often.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. It's getting reps. It's just getting reps.
And it sucks that Australian comedy, just in general, the open mic scene is so
tight.
Yeah, it's so tight.
Restricted.
It's cliquey. Yes, exactly. So you don't get a safe space where you can just try out stuff every day of the week, paid or not paid, booked or not booked. It's very frustrating, and I feel you.
That part is very frustrating. But I think that's just it's not all places in Australia. Like my first night in Adelaide, I was able to sign up at a place, and as soon as I did that, I was in the scene. You know, I got one sign up, and doing okay there got me booked on literally every show in Adelaide. So that was pretty cool. It's just Perth it's so isolated that I think they just naturally are cliquey.
Yeah.
So I think that's the beef there. The next night was Bassendean. Bassendean's like kind of near the airport. Bogan country, if you know what that is.
Oh my god, it reminded me.
Do you know what a bogan is?
What a bogan is?
Yeah.
No, I don't read.
No, I mean, it's not. We've been living in Australia for 2 months. I would have assumed you would have come across the word bogan. Bogan is like the Australian redneck.
Okay.
It's like the backwoods. I don't know, for lack of a yokel. Do you know what any of those words are?
No, but I know what Midwest is, and that's exactly what it reminded me of. It was just a bunch of 60, 70-year-old white, old, beer-drinking, heckling humans, just all at a comedy show.
Long beard, big mullets, that type of thing.
Yes.
The kind of people that would wear jeans and a denim shirt and a jean jacket to a funeral.
Exactly, yeah. The comic relief in like every sitcom ever.
Yes, exactly. It looks like a background character on 90s Roseanne.
Yeah.
That's a bogan. So, Bassendean's like bogan country, as far as I can tell.
Yes.
And everybody that I was talking to in Perth at Lazy Susan's, they're like, oh, what other shows are you on? I'm like, oh, only a couple, you know, like, I'll be doing the Bassendean Hotel tomorrow. And they're like, oh, uh-oh. And I was like, what's uh-oh? And they're like, it's just, that's going to be a rough night. And I was like, okay. But again, like, I don't know what that means to these people who are charging, like, who have open mics where they're selling out. They're selling out an open mic.
Yeah.
So I don't know what rough room means.
Well, on the last episode, you thought that maybe it just meant it was a light room. Like, not a lot of people were going to show up.
Yeah, and I had that feeling when I walked in. So walk in, it was run by this dude named Ziggy. He was cool. He was cool enough, you know, like...
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yep, everybody chatted with me. And I should say this about Lazy Susan's. Everybody was really cool. Everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, I went backstage. They were warm. They were welcoming. So it was cliquey as I've assessed Perth to be. Like, when I was there at Lazy Susan's, they weren't cliquey at all. Mm-hmm. They were really cool. Like, they were talking to me. And, you know, no cold shoulder, no, like, who the fuck is this guy kind of feel.
Yeah.
And then I go to Bassendean, same deal. Everybody's kind of friendly. They're talking to me. They're wondering, like, what my deal is. You know, you're from America. Like, all the normal shit that new guys go through, and being from far away. The same questions they'll ask you, but they're welcoming. Mm-hmm. And then the show gets started, and it is an absolute heckle fest.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just people are screaming from the crowd. They're doing all types of shit. I end up going. I can't remember when I ended up going somewhere in the first bracket.
Yeah.
And my first joke was making fun of the stage and how it was lit, and the black curtains they had, and the filthy Oriental rug that they had on the floor. Mm-hmm. I told them it looked like an ISIS beheading video, and that did pretty well. And then everybody loves a good ISIS beheading joke.
Yep.
And then the show was just kind of on from there, and a couple of heckles, handled them, told them I'd fuck their mom, pretty classic stuff.
Natural.
No, in the context of the joke, whichever joke I told, that it does make sense. But I got heckled on a joke, and I hit him back, and I got heckled on another shit. It was just you had to account for the audience.
Yeah.
It's like there's an old military saying. I don't know if it's old, but you can make your plans, but the enemy gets a say. So I can draft out my material and know what I'm going to do. but the audience is a factor.
Yeah.
And you got to take into account a bunch of assholes sitting in row 2.
Yeah.
And which was a lot of fun. I mean, that makes, it's a nice little challenge, but if you can overcome it, it makes for, I think, an even better show. There was a dude who heckled, yeah.
Are you talking about the 93-year-old dude?
No.
The old dude? No, it was just front row. It was like a guy who was maybe like 60, and his dad who was 93 years old. And the 93-year-old was like heckling comedians.
Yeah.
At one point, one of the comedians got off, and he just stood up and walked off in the middle of this other guy's set to like tell the other comedian whatever was on his mind.
Yeah.
It was like, wow. And he was just like kicking back beers like it was nothing.
Yeah, it was
like, oh my God, this guy.
Fun little town, Bassendean. Well, you saw something weird outside,
yeah,
right?
I went out to the van to get something, and obviously Bassendean, much like the Midwest, has a huge drug problem, huge meth problem.
Nice.
So there was this woman who was just like tweaking and like just very out of it on the side of the sidewalk, and across this little street was a guy who was yelling at her, and he was like, "What makes you act like this?" And she's like, "The drugs, but also every man I've ever known ever." I was like, okay, yeah, I can feel that at some point in my core. Like, I get that. Good for you. The modern day feminist.
Yeah.
Just a meth head on the side of the road.
Blaming their meth problem on men.
Exactly. Yep. Where does it end? All right, well, that was what I saw.
Nice.
But that was Bassendean, and I honestly had a really good time at that show. People were very friendly. This woman came up and was like, "I've lived here my whole life." She wasn't Southern at all. She was Australian, but
yeah, but picture Southern woman that's lived in a place her whole life.
What would a Southern Australian accent sound like?
We are in the south of Australia.
Well, like an American Southern accent and an Australian accent combined. What would that sound like?
Oh boy. I don't know. It's too dumb.
Shrimp on the bow, beat.
Wow. Yep. No, it sounds really good. I respect you for committing, though. I really did. That was great.
All right, let's move on. So your last show.
Oh my God, we're still talking about this. Oh, okay, Fremantle. Fremantle is like a nice little. It's like a hipster town.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a fucking. Everybody under the age of 30 is either really good looking or really fat and entitled, as far as I could tell. We went and we grabbed a beer at a place called Little Creatures Brewery. We sat outside watching the boats come through, and there was the biggest piece of shit kid I have ever seen.
How old do you think he was?
I don't know.
Like 7?
Yeah. Oh, real quick. We are right across the street from a place called Lee Ewan Barracks.
Oh my God.
And there's a bunch of fucking nerd soldiers marching around swinging their arms.
Oh my God.
That sucks.
I don't miss that.
I never understood the people in the military who were like out of shape and took marching real seriously.
And it was always the most out of shape people.
Those were the only people who really gave a fuck about haircuts. It's just like, hey, you can't actually care about the standard dude.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be this fat. You wouldn't be this out of shape. You wouldn't give this much of a fuck about a thing that hasn't mattered in combat since the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, he loves his country, but he loves Ben & Jerry's ice cream slightly more.
Yeah.
So...
Okay, they called it the Marines call it a high and tight. We in the Air Force used to call it a high and stupid.
You hear that? High and stupid.
Yeah, high and stupid. Oh, look at them.
Oh my God. Wow, they're really bad at marching. I wish I could turn the camera around and...
They look like...
You can hear them.
Well, can they? Can they hear them in the... What doesn't matter. Fremantle. We saw a kid, 7 years old, who... How did it start? I've been talking too much.
There was like a little... Okay, so we were sitting in this really nice area. Right next to us was this child play area. And it was a little bit closed off. There were like blocks and just like stupid kid stuff in there. So this kid belonged to a family of what we thought... It was like a family of 6. So it was like a mom and her husband, another mom and her husband, the moms were maybe sisters, and the sisters' mom and dad. So 6 people total.
So let's simplify that, huh? 2 sisters and their husbands and the sisters' parents. Okay.
Now you get an insight into how I think.
Yep. The adult sisters were about 30 to 35.
Yeah, and they each had 2 kids, so all 4 kids playing in this little area. One of the kids, presumably the oldest and also the douchiest, I don't know what he did, but he definitely did something wrong. He was like screaming, he was like basically throwing a temper tantrum. And the mom, instead of doing the right thing and like slapping him across the face and being like, yo, we are in public, like sit your ass down, stop acting a fool.
Instead of beating their kids in public,
she coddled him. She like gave him a hug. She like was massaging him. And then she brought him over to their table and let him walk all over it.
Yeah, literally walk on the table. But like while she was like trying to console him and like he was just like going limp in her arms while she tried to hug him.
Oh my God.
He was like this little weak little waif, and I know we're talking shit about a 7-year-old, but that 7-year-old's gonna grow up to be a real shitty man. Yeah. And like you could see that this little sister who was doing everything right was getting 0 attention and 0 positive
She's
feedback.
going to be the CEO of the next big tech company.
Oh yeah, she's going to be cold, unfeeling, and won't matter how many people she's got to step on to get to the top.
Exactly.
She's going to be very successful.
Exactly, but this guy, it was just like nauseating to watch this woman just take this like shitty kid.
Real shitty.
And just treat him like he did nothing wrong. And then at some point, I think I heard her saying that she was sorry. Like almost like apologizing to him for whatever he did to everyone else. It didn't make any sense at all.
In case you guys are wondering what we were doing during this whole thing, we were drinking beers and eating French fries as fast as we could
of French fries. So
while we talked about how much better of parents we are going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the absolute height of arrogance.
Yeah, like for sure. Yeah, we're pretentious, but I mean, it was. That just blew my mind. And then all the kids, when they were done playing, they just came to the table and they all stepped on the table, on the food, on people's plates. Like the parents were moving their drinks out of the kids' way. I was like, I didn't even get to sit at the adults' table until I was like 25 at Christmas gatherings.
Yeah. Oh.
I didn't even have a seat at the table, let alone would I have been able to step all over everyone's
There's still
food.
a kids' table at like my family functions.
Do you still sit at it?
Yes. Yes. I just think that's because most of them can't stand me.
Oh my God. So that was that. Oof. Yeah. Fremantle. That was a really nauseating experience.
Fremantle, really easy place to be a kid these days.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was I did comedy at the Fremantle Comedy Factory, and they set it up in like the bracket situation, which I know I've talked about in various podcasts before this. So I went on first in the second bracket. I get there, it was a way different vibe than Bassendine and Lazy Susans. Like this was kind of a woke crowd, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But even like the comics, there was no interaction between the rest of the comics. Like I introduced myself to the person who runs the room, to the sound guy who I met at Lazy Susans. And I was just like, hey, I'm here. Do you guys need a hand setting up? No? Okay, cool. I'm going to hang out in the back then. And I started, just hung out. And I didn't know who the host was. The host never came up, or like introduced himself to anybody. I didn't see him really talking to anybody. And it was a white guy with dreadlocks. And he was all right. He brought the energy. He did the host job pretty well in the beginning. But when it was my time to go up, he introduced me as a brand new comic.
Yeah, not just that. He went on for like a minute and he's like, hey, just a reminder, everyone, this is an open mic night and we have a couple people going up where it's their first time ever doing comedy, so we need to be supportive and like, please give it up for our first timer and Patrick Bonner.
Well,
like,
first
like
he goes up there and he
thing.
goes, oh, I forget who's up next. And the sound guy goes, Patrick Bonner. He goes, oh, yeah, this guy, Boner. And he, like, started giving me that shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. And I was like, so usually I would just roast the fuck out of him. But I wanted to get a good 5-minute tape so I can start applying to, like, festivals and, like, other bullshit and get better gigs and get, start increasing my reach and marketability as a comic. So I'm trying to work this new material in a good room, perform it well, not fuck up on my end in front of a good audience. So that's all going through my head, and if I were to go up and just roast this guy, it's not transferable, right? You see that in a comics demo reel, you're like, okay, but what does his material do? Like, what? Sure, he can roast somebody, but if I don't know that guy, is he going to be funny to my audience? Allie's fixing the camera, so if you guys are watching on YouTube, which you're probably not.
Sorry, guys.
So I didn't want to do that. Like, I didn't want to just start roasting him, but I should have. All in all, I stewed for the rest of the night. I was mad that I didn't fucking roast this guy. But, like, my material was fine. I felt a little off while I was performing. There were some jokes that didn't work. I can't remember which ones, but there were a couple that I went to silence, and I had to kind of shuck and jive my way out of it and get the crowd back, and that was fine. But I had to go up, and I was just like, everyone, I don't know what he's talking about. I've done comedy for years at this point. I appreciate your attentive support, but I don't need it. And I just rolled into my material, and it kind of fucked with my good tape, my good 5-minute demo.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Well, it sucks because in every other aspect, I thought he was going to be a good host. Like, he was, like, right in the beginning, just getting everyone on board. I think he, at one point, shook everyone's hand in the audience while they played music. Like, he was high energy the whole time. But yeah, it was so weird that just for your intro, he just totally fucked everything up.
Yeah, it was good besides my intro. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Which was so frustrating.
What do you think really makes or breaks a good host?
The ability to gauge and reset the audience and increase the audience's energy. So the host has to be the person who can manipulate the energy in the room. Take bad energy and make it good, like go on after somebody bombs and like turn it back around, however he has to do that. Do a little bit of crowd work so the crowd feels comfortable. Like, the host has to be a jack of all trades. Has to have material about everything, and has to like draw the audience in and gain the support for the show, right? So that the host serves the show, and that's like the whole deal. So in the regard that like the host kind of fucked me a little bit, he didn't fuck the show, so it's not like he didn't do his job. He just pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. And then we walked home, and we saw we saw these two guys. I almost called them kids, but they were like young 20s.
Yeah.
And one of them had like a puffy face from where he'd just been hit, and the other guy looked like he'd also been hit, but didn't necessarily have any welts on his face. And they were walking by, and we're like, oh shit. They were walking up right on the sidewalk, the same sidewalk, like towards us.
Yeah.
And then by us. And we're like, what just happened? We just missed a fight. Yeah. And we like turn around, and now they're like 20 paces away from us. And we see one of them grab a chair and like punch the wall.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, dude? I feel the same way right now. And then we walked a little bit further up. We saw a bunch of cops coming in, and there was a bar that was mostly cleared out. And there was one guy with ice on his face, and he was a pretty sizable dude. So if I had to guess, this dude just handled these punks Just
Yeah.
absolutely beat the shit out of them. And you know what? Punks, take your ass kicking and go the hell home. All right? Every time I got my ass kicked, I had the common sense and the common decency to talk shit on my way out, but as soon as I was gone, that was it. All right? That was it. I internalized it.
Oh, yeah. They were just drama the whole way to wherever they were going. They were just throwing stuff. They were punching walls. They were huffing and puffing. They were screaming, like, just, fuck. Like,
yeah.
Just so, it's like, and at this point, they're like 20 meters away. I'm like, please stop. Like, please.
Yeah.
Like, you're embarrassing yourself at this point.
Yeah, that makes a minor ass kicking look way worse.
Yeah.
As if you can't handle it with some type of dignity.
Yeah.
Take your fucking welts and move on.
Fucking Fremantle. We're either about to witness a murder or about to witness the punkiest little fight ever. It's extremes in Fremantle.
Yeah, a bunch of little waifs in Fremantle.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so what else happened? Yesterday was a really good day.
Yeah, we went to Rottnest Island.
Yeah.
I've been talking so much. Please take over.
No, it's all good. Rottnest Island, I actually don't know too much about the history of Rottnest Island.
It was named... Oh, okay, I'll just start talking again. It's called Rottnest Island. The Aboriginal word, I think, is Wajamup.
Something like that.
I think it's Wajamup. But the Dutch came by and found, like... This, I don't want to putting this in major quotations, discovered the island, and it's got a bunch of quokkas on it, and they mislabeled the quokkas as rats, and I guess Rottnest in Dutch it's just Dutch for like rat nest, which, I mean, they're quokkas, so
they're not rats.
Yeah. Dutch is just English for stupid.
Burn.
Yeah, eat shit, Dutch.
Yeah, but it was this island. It was like a 30-minute ferry ride from Perth, and it was the perfect spot for a day trip. The weather was phenomenal, and we went with the intention of just filming a whole bunch of shit. We'll put together like a little travel thing about it later. But we get there, we do some filming, we did some snorkeling, which was so much fun.
We didn't do any snorkeling.
A little bit.
Tell me how.
Well, I just brought my, like, stupid little mask.
What didn't you bring?
What didn't I bring?
A snorkel.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't use a snorkel, but we were still, like, we were still swimming, like, by this, like, little reef, and you could see, like, the fish, and, like, I didn't have a physical snorkel, you're right, but we were still doing the act of snorkeling. A little bit.
We were just swimming. We were just swimming around the reef.
We were just swimming in a place where everyone else was snorkeling.
Some people were snorkeling. This is a popular snorkel spot that we just didn't have a snorkel. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it is. I'm being pedantic as fuck right now, but.
Alright. But yeah, so we went there and we swam. And we just swam around some reef and a couple of fish, and it was a good time. It was fun. There was a spot that I really wanted to check out called the Mermaid Pools.
Oh, this is next on Allie Loses Shit.
This is where we started, the day started to unravel a little bit. So I knew that there was a place called Mermaid Pools, but it was known as a hidden spot, so there weren't pictures or places on a map that told me exactly where it was. So I knew the general area of where we were going, and we were walking pretty much everywhere on this island we needed to go.
I smashed my feet on the rocks, so I think I broke a couple of toes. So I wasn't too excited to just be walking everywhere.
Yeah, I was getting a little cranky, and so I'm like, okay, well, let's find...
I'm not that Fremantle bitch.
Let's find a spot. But we ended up finding the pools, and it was great. There was no one in them at all. So I'm like, I need to get a drone shot of this. And I had just flown my drone on some like beach maybe 10 minutes before, and it was fine. Everything was working. Everything was great. So I was like, Pat, I need you to swim in the middle of this pool, and I need you to just be on your back, and I'm going to put the drone in front of, like, on top, and I'm going to just fly it directly up so it just gets that little, like, rocket effect.
Well, I just gotten dry.
Yeah, so I'm like, can you go back in just for like 5 minutes? And you were like, okay, I guess. But as you were getting ready, as I was flying the drone, the wind picked up tremendously. I don't know where it came from, but it became very difficult to fly my drone. And I was getting these warnings and alerts on my phone, like, you know, high altitude, too strong of wind. Please land immediately. And I honestly just like X'd them all out. I just was like, okay, whatever. I can still fly it. It's fine. I've seen those warnings before, and it's been fine. And right when Pat got to the position, and right when he was laying on his back, he saw a fin in the water.
I think I did.
And he was like, Allie, stop what you're doing. I need you to walk over here and tell me if you see anything. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have much time. Like, my battery was like, I only had 5 minutes of fly time left, and I hadn't gotten the shot yet. So I crawl over to some rocks and I look, and I'm like, there's no
You didn't
fins.
really. You pretty much just said, no, Pat. My drone.
No, I
now I
actually
know where I stand.
I did look, but right as all this was happening, my drone literally flew away. Like, it was, I don't know how high up, maybe like 30 meters. It was pretty high, and it was just
30 meters?
30 feet, maybe?
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
30 feet. Sorry, that's what
That's
I
like
meant.
100 feet. It's 30 meters.
No, it wasn't 100 feet. It was 30 feet in the air. And all of a sudden, it's just blowing away. And I try to control it on my phone, and nothing is working. And I'm like, Pat! I've lost control of my drone. And I don't know what to do. I'm on all of these rocks. He's in the water. And it was just
about to be devoured by a shark.
Very chaotic moment where I'm like, Pat's gonna get eaten by whatever the fuck is in that pool right now,
So Pat's
shark
gone.
or not.
Pat's gone.
Yeah.
Already
He's
lost
done.
Pat. Maybe
He's
I can
done.
save the drone.
Maybe. I can still salvage the day by getting my drone back.
Oh, you dog.
And so, luckily, I was able to land it. It was a very hard landing on some rocks, but I was able to get it. But it was just a wild 60 seconds, let me tell you. But I'm very appreciative that you went into that pool for me. Unfortunately, I did not get any footage. So if you guys are looking for the footage, it doesn't exist because my drone was over the ocean doing whatever the hell it was doing.
Turned out there were no sharks either.
Yeah.
So. Oops. Oops.
But I went in right after, and Pat took some cool pictures of me, so at least I got a little something out of it.
Yeah, at least it didn't ruin Allie's day.
So all in all, good day.
Yeah, it's a really good day for Allie.
Oh, but then we went back to like the main little settlement area, and we went to this like bar, and we had a couple of drinks, and it was just nice. It was nice.
Actually a really good day.
Yeah, it was relaxing. It was fun. This was really the first like full day of filming that I've done since being in Australia that wasn't for Taste May Travel. So
Yeah, what are we cooking up with it?
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise?
It is a
For real?
I can tell you guys it's gonna be travel focused, but I don't want to say too much. I want it to be a surprise.
Yeah,
But
we're
gonna
doing
work
travel highlights with our own personal stank on it.
Yes, but you'll
Can I
see
say
it
that?
when
Is
you.
that too much of a?
It's a little too much.
That's too
I
much?
I would have said.
You would have said less
I would have said a
than
lot less.
personal stank.
I would have just kept it at surprise.
Oh, fair enough.
but
Uh-oh.
we're gonna release it next week. So look out for that.
Look out for it.
Please look out for it. Like I looked out for my drone.
Cool. Well, we're at 43 minutes. Let's save the questions for tomorrow.
Okay.
And by tomorrow, I mean next time.
Do we want to talk really quick about working out again?
I mean, we're doing it.
Yeah, we're working out. Kind of a cool thing that we saw was a lifeguard competition.
So we're not talking about working out. We're just going to talk about this lifeguard competition.
Well, it's because we started working out. We got like a 7-day pass at this gym.
So let's
with
be
the
real.
intention of not actually buying a full membership.
Yeah, with the intention of mostly just having a good place to shower.
Yes.
So
But
it's
also
like
a
this
good
working out thing is like a byproduct of a free gym membership. That's really the byproduct of us not showering enough.
Yeah.
So we're working out.
Yeah, we are. But it's like a stadium here, and they have a huge pool, and we saw lifeguard competitions, which I've never seen before.
Yeah,
in my
I mean,
life.
I don't think they have them really anywhere else. The woman who told us where not to stand told us that they have them in Canada too. But basically, this was the 19 and under age groups of lifeguards to figure out who the best lifeguard is, which you would think that you would just know who the best lifeguards are at the end of a season, according to how many people have died at that beach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's like the people who do the drill competitions in the military who think that they're actually, making a difference in making
I can
our
spin
country
my
safer.
rifle real fast. Does that make me good soldier, sir? It's like, no, man, that makes you a fucking nerd.
Yeah, so it's the exact same thing, I think.
Yeah, good point. Really good point. So they were like, they would enter the pool on a whistle. So like 4 of them would come like skimping out in like Speedos and like swimsuits, so like racing suits. And in the pool would be like 3 people snorkeling, which includes...
It was like...
a snorkel.
Oh, stop. There were some people doing it without the snorkels.
No, well, not the ones who were snorkeling. 3 snorkelers. 2 people on boogie boards on one side of the pool. A woman screaming about where her baby was. Then 3 people actively drowning without snorkels, not snorkeling, near
a kayak.
Near 2 kayaks with 2 other people hanging on the kayak and 1 person next to a windsurfing surfboard, bobbing up and down in a life vest. And I guess the idea was they had to come out and prioritize who needed saving the fastest based off of a snap reaction of what they see, and then everybody reacts and pulls them out of the water. And the biggest thing that I saw that they all overlooked was this woman who was screaming about where her baby was. Apparently at the bottom of the pool there was a baby carriage with a baby dummy, and none of them saw it.
No one got it. The only reason we knew that it existed was because after they blew the whistle, because you only have 2 minutes to do all this. So 2 minutes, you have to just save who you can, prioritize what you can, and then it's over. So it happens very quickly. But one of the teams found it after the whistle was blown. So after their time was up. So we were like, oh man.
Oh shit, there's a baby carriage.
Yeah, but no one else got it.
Nobody saw it.
Some of them didn't even prioritize the 3 people that were actively drowning. There were a couple people there was one kid who was like actually like drowning, like face in the water, just like he was the one who like...
Now these are all actors, we should say. These are all like, I guess probably...
Not real.
Yeah, people in the event who are acting like they're drowning. And it's very consistent. They do it the exact same way every single time.
Yeah, but one of the teams didn't even... They saved everyone but the one kid who was drowning.
Yeah.
Everybody. Everyone was out of the pool. So the only person left in the pool was the one who was drowning the whole time.
Yeah, was the one who was face down and unresponsive at the surface of the pool. Very obvious. They literally swam around him.
Yeah, they're excuse me, I'm trying to save these people.
He's already dead. Do not need to worry about him. He'll be joining that baby soon enough.
So it was just wild, like, just what, and it was cool because he used to be a lifeguard. So
it did, yeah. It was it brought me back to the glory days.
Yeah.
I was up on the stands going, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that. I would have never, can't believe that.
Yeah.
My brother lifeguarded at a country club, and he, like, most of lifeguarding just revolves around getting good deals at the snack shack. Like you just parlay your lifeguarding experience. It was like the first corrupt job I've ever had. I felt like a union man.
Nice.
You just get like free snacks. You get to schmooze with people. People like you. You get kind of walk on water a little bit. Anyway, they used to order things, and they had this whole shorthand. I don't know if this is going to translate pretty well over just audio, but they used to have hand signals about what they would order. So it like full body hand signals, like a third base coach. Used to be like, let me get a chicken, flap his arms, wrap, and he'd hug himself with lettuce, which was a hand growing out of the dirt, and tomato, and you just hug down in a circle. Let me get chicken fingers, and you do spirit fingers. It's like, watching him do that was absolutely hysterical. So that's what most of lifeguarding is just being cool and ordering shit from across the pool to your friends.
Yeah, that does sound cool.
One time, I was a beach lifeguard at Seaside Park, We're just going to do story time and then close this out. I've talked so damn much. I can't get enough of myself
I like
at this
it.
point.
Yeah, this has been great.
It was like my first week. It was like late June, and we'd been rained out every single day in June. And so it was like late June. It looks like there's another storm coming in. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We decided we're going to close up the guard shack.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the storm rolling in, and Seaside Park is like, there's about a mile of beach, and then it gets to a harbor where there's a rock jetty, and the rock jetty is separated from the land by a land bridge. So you can get to the jetty at low tide pretty easily because the sandbar is right there. And you can see the sandbar, and at high tide the sandbar gets covered with water, and off the sandbar is about a 20-30 foot drop into the harbor. Like pretty sharp drop.
Wow.
So storms coming in, the tide also came in, and there was like a 50-year-old man and his 20-year-old son that were fishing off the jetty. And they saw the storm coming in. They decided to get off the jetty and cross that sandbar land bridge, and they slipped off. More accurately, the son slipped off right into the 30-foot depth.
Yeah.
And the dad jumped off to try and save his son, and they both started drowning. Like, it was choppy water, stiff current, and they both started drowning. 3 people who were just walking by, there's a footpath right by that part of the harbor, saw these 3 guys drowning, or these 2 dudes drowning, and they jumped in to try to help them. Again, choppy water, strong current. They started drowning.
Oh my God.
The ice cream truck was driving by and saw all this happening. He called the guard shack, and it was just like right before we were about to lock the door, we heard the phone ring. And so the whoever was in charge that day, the supervisor, runs in, grabs the phone, and goes, "Holy shit, everybody in my van!" And we grabbed rescue tubes, and we jumped into her van, and we like fucking boogied over there. And when we got there were only 4 heads in the water. Yeah. And we go in, we grab all the people we saw, and pull them out. And one of the guys says, my son. Like, oh, fuck. So we dove for like 30 minutes until like the Bridgeport Police Department dive team got there. And they took over. And they dove for another hour and a half until they finally found the guy.
No.
Yeah.
How old was he?
He was like 20-something, early 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, very early 20s. I didn't mean to bring it down. My point was, we wouldn't have won the lifeguard competition that year. I think even if we'd done the best in the pool, I don't think we still didn't have a chance to win.
Oh, wow. There's a lot to unpack there, a lot to process.
Yeah.
But
They were like kids who was like their first job ever.
yeah.
16 years old. And they were just like first week doing the job.
And that's what they have to
They
do.
have to contend with, was it like this every day? It's like, yes,
God.
kid. Don't you watch Baywatch?
Oh my God.
This is the real deal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trying to get my hassle on. You don't even know.
No,
All
I'm
right.
just still trying to process all these emotions. Crazy.
Crazy. So, I think that does it for us.
Yeah.
What do we got?
We are leaving Perth pretty soon.
Yes.
We are leaving, hopefully on Thursday.
Hopefully,
We're going to take old Fatty in to get checked up. Make
Yeah.
sure she passes everything before we hit the Outback.
the magic tool bus.
Yes. So hopefully she does okay. But nothing scheduled for me filming-wise. But you have a show coming up on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, another Bass and Dean Heckle Fest. Supposed to be doing 20 minutes there, so if you're there, come on out. I'm going to
Come
tell you
on
to go
out.
fuck yourself.
Yes. Yeah, one of the guys last week, he was like, hey, I went easy on you.
I was like, fuck you. You could have
So
gone
if
as hard
he's-
as you wanted,
So
asshole.
if he's there, I'm excited to see how this all shakes out.
All right, yeah. So if you're in Perth, get to the Bass and Dean hotel.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're a new listener, welcome, guys. We love having you. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Work Our Way.
You got
at
it.
The Instagram handle.
You can hit us up on Gmail, workourwaypodcast@gmail.com.
Yep. Ask advice. We actually have some cool some deep dive questions. Something that's not just like, hey, what's your favorite color? So we were going to get to that this episode. We'll definitely get to it next episode.
Yeah.
Some like, hey, I'm going through this in my life and my relationship. What do you think? And we're not experts, but we'll give you our best.
Can't wait to pretend to be an expert.
So if you guys got questions about where you're at in life, hit us up on workourway podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, you got it. And if you can't remember any of that, if you don't care, just go to our website, workourway.com. It has literally everything there. A little bit about me, Pat, every social media handle we got. We'll hook you up there.
Yep, we'll be updating that with comedy schedules and production shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.